Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain to you why Mike Johnson, the latest Speaker of the House, will eventually be removed, almost certainly by Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and other Republicans. The reason is that during Trump's administration, where we had record low poverty and record highs in household median income, there was a government shutdown. The media, Democrats blamed Trump. They were not to blame. According to media, when Democrats forced a shutdown, when they didn't get what they wanted, it was Trump's fault, and it was the Trump Republicans. It was the Republicans who presided over this shutdown, a government shutdown, years back during Trump's administration. We can look, and this is an article from the Wall Street Journal. GOP holdouts ousted Kevin McCarthy. Now Mike Johnson feels the heat. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and others are openly talking about removing him as well after McCarthy. They might as well just put Matt Gaetz in there, and so they won't have to deal with this nonsense. But hit subscribe to this channel. I'll have a live stream tonight, probably around 10 p.m. Eastern. I've lately been focusing on the uploads, but I will have a live stream almost certainly this evening. So 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Eastern, be here this evening to read my writing in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, other publications. Go to hagoodman.com. My Patreon is below, ladies and gentlemen. The super thanks is below, next to the like and the share buttons. I want to show you, not long ago, you had longest shutdown in history ends as Trump relents on wall. Democrats forced the longest shutdown in history. They had no problem doing so. And Pelosi had no issues. We can go and look at this right here, a Politico article in 2018. When they wanted their budget goals or objectives, reached, they had no problem shutting down the government. I'm not saying that Matt Gaetz or Mike Johnson, or Republicans should want this possibility. It's not good for the country. It's not good for the government, or it's not good for the American people. But Democrats play hardball. They have no problem doing everything possible to get what they want in terms of legislation or in terms of spending and in terms of the budget. Republicans, kowtow all the time. Most of the Republicans, which is why Trump is so popular. Most Republicans are so petrified of media. They're so afraid of being labeled as or blamed for a shutdown. They would never do everything possible from a political perspective, a peaceful and political perspective, to ensure that they get their objectives, their budget, their spending cuts enacted. And that's why Kevin McCarthy was ousted, because he didn't want to do what Pelosi was willing to do. That doesn't mean you have to force a shutdown. That means you have to at least utilize, then you have a Democrat in office. So at least utilize that consequence or that possibility to further your budget goals and objectives. So you can look right here. It's phrased as, well, Trump relented. Soon after Trump announced the deal, legislation, Trump signed it later Friday night. The remarks, the president's concession came as the effects of a shutdown, which stretched into the 35th day Friday, started to dramatically ramp up. It was Trump that was forced to concede on a wall, which, by the way, had we built completely, we wouldn't have the issues, the human catastrophe, the human rights catastrophe that Democrats just ignore. And so, we can go into it, but if you, as a Democrat or as a good, morally superior liberal or progressive, you would think that you'd care about the crimes and the lives lost and the lives that are suffering right now, because there is no wall. That's a whole other story. Okay. Um, what took place in President Obama's administration, far worse in many ways than anything that took place in Trump's administration on this topic. And some of the things that happened during President Trump's administration should never have taken place. But he offered Democrats a deal to make dreamers citizens. I have friends who are dreamers. I want them to become citizens. Democrats said no. And then you have AOC talking about, well, you should have a pathway to citizenship. Democrats don't care about that. They lie to every constituent, every demographic group. They just lie. Have you seen any immigration bills pushed by the Democratic Party when they had both the House and the Senate? No. No, you don't. They wouldn't even vote on AOC's Green New Deal bill. Okay? So then they're definitely not talking about Medicare for all. They're not talking about anything. Packing the courts, doing away with the filibuster. All of these are promises. These are lies they tell to their voters just to keep them voting Democrat. But you see, poverty has gone up in this country. Okay? The economy is teetering on the brink of a terrible stock market crash. We have spent too much because of arbitrary, foolish economic decisions pushed by the Democratic Party and bureaucrats and media, namely the shutting down of economic activity years back. We still have not felt the consequences, unfortunately. Now you're going to have a Bitcoin and stock market crash. One or the other will lead to the other. Either Bitcoin will lead to a stock market crash, or stock market crash will lead to a Bitcoin crash, and things will exacerbate and get worse. And so we are on the brink of a terrible financial meltdown. There could be bank runs. You better have your money in a too big to fail bank. I'll leave it at that. Okay, the largest largest 3 or 4 banks in this country. You want to call them too big to fail. A lot of smaller banks, I think, that you could see what took place a year ago. Okay, with a couple of banks that went under. You have so many problems in terms of the economy that most people aren't really seeing. Okay, inflation, actually, the numbers went up. That's with interest rates through the roof, 6 to 8% interest rates. And so Democrats say, "Oh, we're going to help you with your student loan debt." They don't tell you that in Biden's economy, it's impossible now to buy a house because the mortgage payments are way too high for most Americans, because interest rates are through the roof, because Biden didn't think that inflation was a big deal, and his administration thought it was only temporary, and then he was forced to release millions upon millions of barrels of strategic petroleum reserves after his executive orders forced oil companies to sue him. And so you have, Democrats in terms of media get away with everything. They say, oh, the Inflation Reduction Act. Well, it's the inflation that you said was temporary that is now going back up, even with interest rates through the roof. And then once you have oil going to around 100, all bets are off. Then, like I said, stock market crash, Bitcoin crash. There could be bank failures. There could be bank runs. You're talking hedge funds could go under. It could be a 2008 moment, likely worse. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Friday. We need Trump back because we had record low poverty with Trump and record highs in household median income. And he brought Americans home from never-ending military conflict. That's what drives me the most, and in terms of a great economy as well. You would think Democrats would care about poverty, but apparently they don't. Poverty is up under Biden's administration. And now inflation is through the roof. Real wages were down throughout most of Biden's administration also. Real wages were up under Trump. We can go on forever. Hit subscribe to this channel. What does this all have to do with Mike Johnson? All he had to do was act like Pelosi. All McCarthy had to do was act like Pelosi. What is with Republicans and not wanting to act like Pelosi when they have political power in the House? Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe. Right now, Trump will regain the Oval Office. Be here tonight in November. Be here tonight for the live stream. And of course, the live stream in November of 24 of this year. Have a great day. I'll see you for the live stream later today.